Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yo, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, go.
We are the nation of domination.
Welcome to another episode of Bird Gang Nation Sports Talk. I'm your host, Bird Gang 31. Today, Nation, we got another Week 5 preview with my guest, Bo from PHNL. How you doing today, Bo?
I'm doing great, man. Excited to break down this game. A pair of exciting quarterbacks. Hopefully the Cardinals can kind of get that offense going a little bit, but I know you guys are feeling it a little after an undefeated start, last undefeated team in the league. I know Philly's feeling it.
Oh, yeah, we feeling pumped over here. You see the Hurt season hat on. We definitely team Hurts over here, man. So let everybody know a little bit about your channel, and then tell me how you feeling about these Cardinals, you know, some good, some bads, and what you like to see get better.
Yeah, PHNX Cardinals, PHNX Sports. We cover everything Phoenix, Arizona sports related. You know, we're covering the Suns, we're covering the Coyotes, Arizona State, Arizona football, and, of course, the Arizona Cardinals playoff team last year. Lots of excitement with Kyler Murray signing a huge deal to remain here in the desert through 2027. And the team kind of came out of the gates a little slow, especially on the offensive side of the football. And they're looking to finally, after talking about it so much, have a hot start because I think they need it in order to keep up with this Philly offense.
Yes, sir. You know, this offense is looking pretty good. Jalen Hurts is having himself a year. AJ's been nothing but a miracle over here. You know how much he advanced this, you know, receiving core that we have over here in Philadelphia. You know, just one addition really, and now everybody looking great over there. So let's talk about Kyler Murray, man. How you feeling about Kyler? You know, everybody knows Kyler's one, kind of like Jalen Hurts in a sense. You know, where they're both mobile quarterbacks. They can get out of the pocket. You know, if you let these guys start running wild on you, they'll put some damage on your defense. So what do you look to expect to see from Kyler Murray this week?
I mean, you hope to see the mobility, right? Because a couple games earlier this season, they kind of reined him in a little bit, and it's not successful for this offense. They've got to let him utilize one of his main weapons, and that's his legs. But he's a great passer and a little slow coming out of the gates as far as connecting with his wide receivers early on. Hollywood Brown, somebody they're getting incorporated in this offense. He's looking solid, just like a big acquisition like A.J. Brown. He's been big for the Arizona Cardinals. And then you got to have the other guys, kind of the the supporting cast. Rondell Moore's got to get up to speed, and you've got Greg Dortch, who's a nice addition to this receiving core. Kyler Murray's just got to be a little bit more efficient early on, hit on those wide receivers, hit on some big plays potentially, and get these guys out of the gate. Too many 3-and-outs early on for this team, and putting this defense on the field too quickly to where opposing offenses have been able to capitalize and put this team away and in too big of a deficit early on.
Is it more players, scheme, coaches? What's going on? Do you think it'd be a little bit different if you guys had D-Hop these first couple of games,
Oh,
since you don't have that mega star there?
absolutely. It's been a welcome sight to see Hopkins back in the building at the facility. Obviously, he can't practice with the team. He can't play, but he's working out. He looks great. He reminded everybody this offseason when he was in like joint practices with the Titans and when he was out there just making spectacular plays in training camp that he is still elite. And once he gets back, this offense will go to another level. But I think a lot of people will say that they've been disappointed even without Hop in the lineup by this offense. It just hasn't been. They've been outscored 31-0 in the first quarter. That's just not getting it done.
Wow.
The first half, they've just been stagnant. It hasn't been there, and you can say that's kind of on the play calling, but it's also a mix of guys not executing out there. Kyler's hit some receivers who just haven't made that big play. There was a game where Zach Ertz, how steady and reliable Ertz is. He made a big drop in the red zone, and it's just combination of just poor play and poor execution and not the right play calling. But at some point they're going to hit. I don't know if it's this week. I mean, we thought Denver might be able to figure it out through 5 weeks, and they didn't look any better last night. So it doesn't just mean, hey, you got to bide your time, and at some point it's going to hit. Like, this team just has to come out, sense of urgency, and play better football. And it's going to be a tough challenge. They're starting centers out, and that interior, that defensive line with a future Hall of Famer and Fletcher Cox and a mammoth of a human, an impressive first round pick in Jordan Davis. They want to eat, and they probably could if Kyler Murray is not on top of his game.
Yes, sir. Your running game, you just said your center's out. Do you think that's going to be a dramatic effect on there? Like you said, our defensive line's beast. If any weakness in that D line, we're going to definitely attack. We're going to attack hard. You know what I'm saying? Who would be backing up that center? Is it someone that's serviceable, or is this a young player just going to get some time to?
Yeah, I mean, serviceable would be nice, right? I think that it's a big concern. I mean, they've got 4 of their 5 offensive linemen, so that's good. Like, especially with this league where injuries are inevitable, and you always see, especially those big hog mollies, suffering injuries week in and week out. Like, to have 4 or 5 of your guys is good, but with the daunting task of trying to hold back Fletcher Cox and hold back Jordan Davis and those pass rushers, Hassan Reddick, who we're all familiar with on the outside, it's going to be just a huge day. It's going to be so important that they do get serviceable play from a guy like Harlow. So that's going to be one of the matchups to kind of follow along with. Is it just one of those days where you just have to rely on Kyler Murray to just be special? And, that's not exactly the game plan that you want. But when you've got a player the caliber of him, sometimes there are weeks in the NFL season where you just need a guy to be special, and he has that potential. But if he's got Cox or Jordan Davis bearing down on him and blowing plays up, just being a game wrecker early on, it's going to be bad news for the Cardinals.
Oh, yeah, man. It's definitely, I'm trying to stay in that, zen mode where I'm not getting too hyped about it. I'm not getting too low about it. The last game I seen, was 2 years ago when the battle between Kyler and Jalen, his first year getting to play. He wasn't starting that year. It was Carson Wentz's year. He kind of came in at the end of the year. And they had that epic game, they both went over 350 yards, I believe. And it was just a shootout. Our defense, I don't think, was really prepared, to stop you guys that game. And that's the reason why we ultimately lost that football game. We definitely got a different team this year, so I'm expecting bigger things and better things with it. But who are you most worried about on this Eagles team, going into this week?
I think A.J. Brown is probably the most worrisome, and then next would be a guy like Miles Sanders because, they did a great job in bottling up and not 100% Christian McCaffrey, but outside of that, they've struggled against the run, dating back to last season. Miles Sanders is another level. He's got another gear when healthy, over 5 yards per carry, so fast and can just find those holes and just go. He could gash this defense, but A.J. Brown too is like, they haven't been healthy in the secondary all season long, and you're still wanting to see the guys, the personnel like in the defensive secondary and cornerback if they can compete. And, a guy like A.J. Brown, if you're not ready, he can expose you. They did a pretty good job against him in Tennessee last year to open up the season, but he has such a good rapport already with Hurts. Such a big body guy. Can they slow him down? So those are the two guys I'm really concerned with, especially on the offensive side of the football, because, if Philly comes out hot again and gets a lead, like this has just been the trend so far this season, it's just bad news for the Cardinals. We talked about the center position, but I think this offense, it doesn't matter who they're playing. They've got to come out and be kind of the calling card of this team, and they've got to be able to put up points. But, that's a big question mark for this team going forward.
Scouting report. Give me 3 names the Eagles fans should be worried about the most coming into this game.
Man, I mean, outside of the norm, outside of Kyler, outside of Zach Ertz, right? You got Byron Murphy. As far as the cornerbacks go, he's a guy that's kind of under the radar, makes big plays. He's playing inside now. He's playing that slot corner position, and he can help out with maybe a Devontae Smith. And on the offensive side of the football, you're going to have to look at. I mean, Rondale Moore is somebody that they're trying to reincorporate in this offense, and if he gets up to speed, he has speed to burn. A second-round pick at a Purdue, but Hollywood Brown is the guy he's been the dude all season long. I expect him to have another solid game. Ertz to have a solid game, and then if they need to get that good balance going with the run game, I don't know if it means it's James Conner or it might be a guy like Benjamin early to get some yards, and then Conner punch it in if they're close to the goal lines. So it's gonna be a team effort, obviously. I mean, with Philly so hot right now, and there's a lot of scary components to their team offensively and defensively. Arizona Cardinals are going to have to play their best game of the season in order to keep up with them and then have a chance at the end.
Yeah, we got a question for you. He said, who's the Cardinals defensive coordinator?
It's Vance Joseph. If you remember, he coached the Denver Broncos a couple of years ago. Didn't really get a good chance as far as never had a quarterback. He left Denver, and then he's been a pretty decent defense coordinator here. I mean, problem is the players that he has to kind of put in position, like you can only do so much. I mean, you got to make chicken salad and a chicken bleep sometimes with the guys they have on the defensive side of the football. But JJ seems like he's going to play Watt. You've got Zach Allen at the interior of the defense. That's become kind of a game wrecker. You got a linebacker in Zaven Collins who's looking good through his first 4 games of the season, and then you've got Budda Baker, who's absolute just missile sometimes. Looks like he's shot out of a cannon, making tackles all over the field. So they've been the team that's been the side of the ball that's been trending right the last couple of games, and if they can get the stops, against this offense, they should be able to put themselves in a good position to compete.
Are there any more injuries besides your starting center?
I mean, it's a long injury list. There's a lot of guys questionable, but nobody like really in doubt to miss. I think that they'll get AJ Green back, but AJ Green at 34 years old, he's shown that maybe Father Time continues to be undefeated, and he's not as making as big of plays as he even did last year in his first season with Arizona. But other than that, I mean, they're banged up just like everybody else. But they were actually trending injury-wise in a good direction after starting the season down a couple key players. I think now they're actually in a pretty good spot. There isn't, outside of that interior, that offensive line, there isn't, I think, an area that will be exposed on a play-to-play basis. And that's a good thing. That's a real good thing.
What was your take on the team going into the season? Like, what was your record prediction, and has that changed since then, or has the first 4 games kind of started the way you thought they might?
No, I mean, I thought they could potentially lose the first 3 games of the season. Without Hopkins, that's a big handicap, and you're playing Kansas City, who's always going to be in contention for a Super Bowl. You're playing the Super Bowl champs and the Rams, and I think a lot of people saw the roster with Vegas that they were going to be potentially another playoff team. That isn't the case, and they were able to get the dub there on the road. No, I mean, if they can get through 6 games without Hop, if they can get around 3-3, they're going to be in a good spot to go 10-7, 11-6, return to the playoffs in a really weak NFC. Like, who are the big dogs in the NFC now? Like, obviously Philly's emerged, and then you got some teams taking a couple steps back. Like, if they play 500, close to 500 ball, and then when Hopkins comes back, goes up to a different level above 500, they should be able to easily get into the playoffs as a top 7 team.
What do you think really happened with you guys' division? You know, you
Yeah.
guys were number one in the league last year. You know, all those teams were soaring high, doing their
Yeah.
thing. You know, you've seen some quarterbacks leave. You got new quarterback play in San Francisco and inside Seattle. What's going on with that? And you know, do you think it's a lot more easier for you guys? Is that what keeps you optimistic, knowing that the whole division itself is kind of taking a step back, but that kind of gives a way for you to bust in
I
there?
mean, it is. I mean, the Rams being first place, they got a first place schedule. You're playing the AFC West. All the NFC West teams are playing the AFC West, which is a tough division. So in the Rams, I mean, when you mortgage the future, at some point you gotta make mortgage
Hmm.
payments, man. And
Yeah.
that's I think we're starting to see that. And if Stafford's not 100%, you know that he can go from above average to a pedestrian quarterback sometimes. Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald have to be up for every game, and in this league, it's tough. So I think that the Rams, they'll figure it out. They'll add people obviously throughout the season and get stronger and stronger. And then 49ers just dropped the ball as far as the quarterback spot. I mean, regardless of what you think, I mean, Trey Lance just wasn't ready yet. And then the
Hmm.
way that they handled Jimmy G, and they felt like they needed to move off of him, and then eventually didn't. Now they're relying upon him. That's such a good roster, probably one of the deepest in the league, and then they just don't have the most important position checked off. So that's just going to be their issue going forward. And then Seattle's, I mean, upstart. I mean, you gotta. This was like West Virginia, Geno Smith that we envisioned coming out of school and playing at a high
Right.
level. And
Shocked.
I don't know. I got to imagine he comes back down to earth a little bit, but that's a decent roster. That's a decent young roster for them to play as well as they have in a rebuild year. Like, tip of the cap to them. I just think at some point they're going to see some of their key injuries in their youth kick in, and they'll kind of exit, the 2-2 and be more of a sub 500 team and angling for a good draft pick. But they're not a team that you could like you sharpied in 2 wins over them this season. If you don't show up, they could beat your ass.
Yeah, facts. He said, I got a question for you. Welcome to your guest. He says, which camp are you in? Fire Cliff after this year, or give him more time?
Mhm.
More time. How much time does he get?
Yeah, I mean, look, the NFL's tough, man. And when you have a guy who has the resume of Kingsbury, and I'll give you like, he was a failure as a college coach. He was 35-40. His alma mater fired him, and then he became a head coach the next offseason. It's like it's one of the more puzzling rises to an NFL head coach in the history of the league. So there comes a lot of like people who are skeptical whether or not he can coach at all. But this team went from 3 wins to 5 wins to 8 wins to 11 wins in a playoff appearance with one of the worst rosters in 2018 in just 3 years. And he developed Kyler Murray, put him in a position to be a 2-time Pro Bowler, Offensive Rookie of the Year, and get the bag this offseason. Like, he's having success in the major places that you need him to be successful, but it doesn't come without frustration. You can see how he's a flawed coach, but until he takes that major step back, and can you just do it like, hey, it's a 1-strike ball game here. It's not 3 strikes. You have
Mhm.
your one. I don't think they move off him. They actually extended him this offseason. So I think he can keep the pressure off of them for at least one season. But if they come out of the gate slow next season, uh,
Mhm.
then absolutely that seat has to be hot.
So at least another year or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said, what kind of defense the Cardinals running, and how are they
Yeah,
doing with that one?
it's a 3-4, but just like the rest of the league, it's kind of an amoeba. Like they just kind of play what the offense is playing, and they've got JJ Watt, Zach Allen, and then a third guy on that line, and then
Mhm.
they're running with a couple linebackers, and then they love their 2 safeties in Buda Baker and Jalen Thompson, and usually have 3 corners out there, maybe 4. It's just it's a traditionally, if you press them on it, they'd say 3-4. But sometimes they'll get to a 3-3-5. But it's a defense that likes to dial up some exotic blitzes. They like to bring a lot of pressure. And when they're not getting it from their traditional edge rushers, they're going to have to bring it from somewhere else. So that's going to include corners. That's going to include safeties coming and getting after Jalen Hurts. And we'll see if they spy him. I don't know if
Mhm.
it's going to be something like Isaiah Simmons, an 8th overall pick from a couple of years, if he's going to spy, or if he'll likely be on Goddard most of the game. So it's really going to be interesting to see how they scheme up this Philly offense.
How'd you feel about Reddick leaving?
Oh man, he was kind of a polarizing guy until his final year. So they declined his 5th-year option, right? And in his 4th year, it's like, is he even going to make the team? And they put him in this pass rush role for the first time. They want him to be a stand-up linebacker, which is ridiculous. And he goes through 3 defensive coordinators in 3 seasons, and then finally Vance Joseph puts him in a position to be successful. They lose Chandler Jones that season. He racks up 12.5 sacks, and I think a lot of people wanted them to keep him, but it seemed like he wanted to get closer to home. So he goes to Carolina. He reunites with his college coach and Matt Rule, and then he signs with Philly this offseason. It's like Cardinals would have had to come over the top, maybe even more so because of how bad they mismanaged him early in his career. So, the fans obviously noticed that they messed that up, but he's a great player, man. He really is. They've really found a role where he can thrive and be just an absolute nuisance and menace for opposing offenses. I love Hassan Arek.
And on the flip side, Zach Ertz from the Eagles, like we talked about, Mr. Reliable, man. How has the fan base really embraced him? And how do you feel about Zach Ertz? You still see that he is, one of them top flight tight ends out there, or do you think, he's serviceable? We don't need to worry about that position for a couple of years, but we can upgrade it soon.
Yeah, I think he still plays a major role in this offense. I mean, he's not Zach Ertz of a couple of years ago, right, where he was a perennial Pro Bowler and in the discussion for the top tight end in the league, and he was up there in the same breath as a Kelsey, and it's not there anymore. But he's still a reliable guy. He still plays a huge role in the red zone and moving the chains, and obviously off the field, the stuff he brings is unmatched. Great. As far as his philanthropy and he and his wife, I think he talked to us this week, and basically he said he has no ill feelings towards Philly. And it really felt like it was either going to be Arizona, where his wife is from, or Philly, or because it doesn't seem like he wanted to be anywhere else. So you can appreciate a guy being that loyal. And you guys just know Ertz is a very easily likable guy. And it helps when he performs on Sunday. Scored a touchdown last week. He approaches double-digit targets a game, and the ball goes up, and he usually comes down with it. So hopefully they can get him. He was the target leader after Hopkins went out last year, and continues to be a pretty big vocal point in this offense.
Yeah, just like our coach did. Some people say that they think that you guys need an OC. How do you feel about that? Because you see Nick Sirianni this year, he gave over the role to Steichen, and our offense is looking pretty good this year. Do you think that's something that Cliff needs to do for the Cardinals?
Yeah, I think if things go south and they miss out on the playoffs after the expectations were that they needed to return, absolutely that's got to be, if you're not going to let them go, the alternative is, hey, maybe relieve the play calling duties to somebody you trust, right? And somebody knows that your philosophy, your game plan, and you focus on, the things that go into being a head coach. That's what I was calling for last offseason, but I don't make the calls, right? I can talk until I'm blue in the face. The organization's going to do what they're going to do, and they saw progress is progress. So, if they're unsuccessful, man, and don't get back to the playoffs, I absolutely expect them to do that if they're not going to move off of the coach.
Yeah. Are you a season ticket holder?
I'm not, but I mean, I cover the game in the press box, so it's
nice.
I don't have to.
That's even better, right?
It is. I mean, you get to go have a good time when you're a season ticket holder. It's a little bit more conservative, I guess, a little bit more subdued in the press box. No cheering and stuff. You don't get like the full atmosphere and stuff that everybody loves about game day, and you can feel passionate about football and cheer on your team or boo. Or I miss that aspect a little bit, but yeah, it's a great game day experience. I expect a lot of Philly fans to be out here. Actually, Ertz said, like, Cardinals fans, don't sell your tickets to Philly fans. Not a knock.
Oh man, Ertz is hating. Hey, tell Ertz don't be blocking over there.
I think he's like
over there, Ertz. See, and I was liking you. Now you're trying to hate on us, Ertz. We coming.
He knows. Yeah, he knows. He knows better that they're out there, and they'll pick them up in the secondary market, and they'll come. Gang Green's going to be out there in full force. The Bird Gang's going to be out there. So he knows that it's going to be tough running offense sometimes if you got a loud Philly crowd in there, and he's trying to maybe be proactive and slowing that down.
How many years have you been reporting on the Cardinals?
Man, I think 10. 10 years, starting in radio and working my way up. And I was back in the Wiz and Hunt years where, you guys sent us damaged goods and Kevin Cobb. What the hell was that about? And it was really thin for a while, and then Carson Palmer, Bruce Arians, those guys, those were fun. The no fly zone. You had Patrick Peterson, Larry Fitzgerald, some great players. Got to watch those guys develop and play at a high on a big stage. They got the NFC Championship game, and then thin years again. And then Kyler Murray came, and he's got to be one of the most electric players I've seen in a long time. It's like what you guys are watching with Jalen and what you guys saw with DNAB. It's just it's really something when you can draft a guy and they can kind of get to this level and just make plays that just make you just lose your mind each and every game. It's awesome.
Did you how many players have you interviewed, and which was your favorite interview?
Man, I mean, Fitz, it's tough to beat Fitz. Just a consummate professional, just a fun dude, very humble, right? It's tough to beat a guy like Fitz, but then you've got guys like Calais Campbell, who's still playing at a high level in this league for Baltimore, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. On the outside of football, I got to interview guys like Devin Booker before. It's just, it really is crazy, the access you get sometimes just because you have a stupid plastic credential, and you get to talk to these guys. But I'm talking to the players each and every day in the locker room. We talk to Kyler twice a week after the games and, leading up to the games. So just blessed beyond measure with that kind of stuff. It's really fun to turn like a passion of mine into a profession.
Nice. He said, which radio station did you work for in AZ?
I worked at 910. I do. Bob Kemp is next to me in the press box there from 1060. As long as I've been there, he's of course been there. Yeah.
Nice. Which has been your favorite game that you have been to?
Oh man, the best game I've been to, it was Cardinals 2015. They played Green Bay in the divisional round. They hosted Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay, and Green Bay was down with like under 2 minutes go. Aaron Rodgers connected on not one but two Hail Marys, and it was unreal. And he unleashed a bunch of deep balls, and like you're sitting up in the press box, you're already high, and you're just seeing these balls launched. And I've never seen anything like that live. He was absolutely just throwing some dimes out there. Completed both, two of them, over 99 yards in passes, and sends it to overtime. And then Larry Fitz catches a wild play, takes it 75 yards, rumbles down, into the red zone near the goal line, and then a little shovel pass to Fitz to walk it off. It's tough to beat that. That was probably my favorite game to watch live.
Favorite three offensive players from watching the Cardinals all time?
Man, I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, it's Fitz, second, pretty much in all-time receiving, every major statistical category, number 11, one of the all-time greats. And then I love watching Kyler. Kyler is just electric out there. But then, under the radar guy would be like Anquan Bolden. Anquan Bolden was absolute. Quan was just beast, and he took some shots. He would deliver some punishment. He wide receivers don't play like him anymore, and he was really fun to watch.
What about three defense?
Defense, loved my guy 9-0. Darnell Dockett was a beast in the middle of that defense. Patrick Peterson until things got real rough in 2018, and he requested a trade. He was one of the best corners in the league. And P2. I'll take him almost any day in his heyday against a lot of corners out there. And then Adrian Wilson's a guy who played at a high level too, at the safety position. Tough not to love A-Dub.
Favorite coach?
Man, coach is tough. Probably Bruce Arians, just because he had that philosophy of coach him hard and then hug him later. You would want to go get a drink after the game with BA. He always had good sound bites. He's he always says most colorful things. So I always BA, and it worked out. He finally got his ring in Tampa Bay, and you can't knock the guy. So BA was a great 5 years.
Nice. Give me three hot takes from this game coming up this Sunday. Three things that you think, if happens, the Cardinals win.
If they can slow down the pass rush, the offense can get back on track. I think that's not it. Cardinals were down before going up against this front seven. Now they're down big. So I think it's a hot take to think that they're going to keep their guys off of Kyler Murray keep them from getting home. Big if is, can they slow down the run game? Because I think if you can make Hurts one-dimensional, make him throw more than he even wants to, take that his legs away and Miles Sanders away, it will help the team stay in this thing. And just the ultimate hot take is like, could be a trap game. Could be a good game for the Cardinals to just outright win. They're not getting any respect through the national media, and nobody's really giving them a chance. But if they put together, if they execute, I think that they can play with this team and shock the world.
Yes. Do you think this is gonna? It's like you said. You think it could be a close game? Like how close do you think this game could be? The spread is 5.5. Do you got the Cardinals with the spread, or you just think the Eagles are going to win, or you think the Cardinals are going to win straight up?
I mean, I think my head tells me different than my heart. I mean, I think my head is that the Cardinals they'd have to buck a lot of trends to win this game, right? Like they've played 16 quarters and played 13 decent, or 3 decent ones, right? 13 quarters have been just a disaster for this team. So to go up against one of the hottest teams and just say, hey, it's going to be different, that's just, that's just hopeful thinking, right? So, but I've seen this team, like this team has talent. And when you've got a quarterback like number 1, Kyler Murray, he's 4-0 against his predecessor and successor at Oklahoma, Baker Mayfield and Jalen Hurts. I don't think he wants to, right? And Cardinals have had success at State Farm, historically against Philly, but the team the Cardinals beat last week, they couldn't beat for the last couple of years. So, things change and streaks are meant to be broken. Cardinals, I think, just need to have a decent showing offensively. And like I said, this team just needs to keep its head above water until Hop comes back. And if they lose this game, they've got a winnable game against Seattle. The pressure isn't on. Is this a must win right now?
Nice. So you didn't give me a score prediction. What's your score prediction?
Man, I think Philly continues to put up points, probably high 20s. I think they win, and both teams are going to have backup kickers in there, so hopefully no field goals come into play. Down the stretch here. I think it's going to be like 28-22 Philly.
Nice. Yeah, both kickers, man. That's crazy. There's a lot of kickers out right now this week. You see the national media put Eagles, you think it's well-deserved, being the number 1 overall team, or do you think, you're on a fence where you need to sit consistently and a little bit more of it before you actually buy into the hype and think that Philly's the best team in the NFL?
I want to see him against one of some better competition. Like Washington sucks. Jacksonville is up and coming, but I think Philly's a better team there. And then Detroit, they get into shootouts and all. I just want to see them play better competition. I think that starts this week. I haven't really looked at their schedule, but they should.
Really on the schedules, Cowboys, Green Bay are pretty much.
I want to see them get into a tight game. I want to see them face some adversity, trail, come back. I think that's just good for them down the road. And just kind of see them tested. They were tested last year, and they were kind of ahead of schedule as far as this rebuild goes. And you love what you've seen from Jalen Hurts, but you want to see everybody kind of face some adversity. It always does everybody good. So just want to see that, and so that they're tested come playoff time, and we know a little bit more about them before then.
Kyler Murray, Jalen Hurts, who do you have being a better quarterback? I
got K1. I got to go with my guy, Kyler Murray. I just think as far as polished, he's polished as a passer. Like he can throw tight, he can put it on the line, and he can drop dimes from deep. I'm really surprised. I think Jalen Hurts has taken some big strides forward and is a lot better passer than a lot of people gave him credit for. And I'm not knocking him. I just think K1's that good.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't agree with that. I agree with, I'm saying that you're not knocking him. And he is a talented football player over there. Like I said, I think I have my biased opinions. I think that maybe Hurts is a little bit better than him in certain areas, but Kyler's better in certain areas. Jalen's better in certain areas. And of course, I'm a homer, so I'm going with my boy Jay Hurts. But should be a very fun game, man. Thanks again. So you're going to be at the game in the press box?
We'll be at the game. Yep. We'll be at the game Sunday. Cards haven't won at home for almost a calendar year. They're trying to end that bad skid. So it's gonna be good. And I expect to see a bunch of green out there, no doubt about it. But birds versus birds, gonna be a fun one.
Battle the birds, baby. Battle the birds. All right, guys. Well, go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you at. I know we gotta get out of here, but thanks again for coming on the show. Much love. Make sure everybody hit that subscribe. Their links are all throughout the chat. So,
all right, man. Find us at PHNX Sports, PHNX Cardinals. We're talking about it every day.
Nice. Well, thanks again. Like I always say at the end of my videos, fly, Eagles, fly. Till next time, this BG, and we out. Peace.